Good morning. Happy Monday. Cinco de Mayo it is for all you Mexicans out there. Where's our population? Good morning, Jennifer. Okay, today we're going to talk about buyers because it's come to my attention that some of you are not following the law. You do realize you're not allowed to show property without a contract, right? The settlement with the National Association of Realtors that cost $140 million and cost Century 21 $87 million. There's a law that you cannot show property to a buyer without signing a contract because the seller pays the seller's commission, buyer pays buyer commission. We can negotiate that into our deal, but we have to have a contract in order to do that. All right. So today I'm going to take you through and I'm going to show you the steps you need to go through. And I'm going to show you a process that works when you work it. Okay. Just to make it easier for you. I really don't want any of you getting, it's a $1,500 initial fine, then it's a $5,000 fine, and then it's a $15,000 fine, and you have to appear in front of the real estate commission, which may or may not be going away. So I don't think any of us want to go through that process. So it's very, 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 very important that we learn how to have buyer agreement signed. And there's 3 buyer agreements. One is wimpy, one is not wimpy, and one is powerful. And I want you to have the powerful one. But in order to have the powerful one, you need to make a presentation, right? So we're going to go through that today. I'm going to show you how to do the presentation. We're going to look at the presentation. We're going to study all 3 agreements so you know which one to use, so you are in compliance with the law. There you go. I just had to finish I did my MLS compliance refresh because I was notified to do it. So I did it. Unlike many of you who, wait till the last minute and then you get busted and then you panic and freak out. So no need to do that. All right, so I'm going to share my screen for a little bit. We're going to go through Moxi. We're going to see the presentation. We're going to talk about the presentation. We're going to see the features and benefits of the presentation and the value it brings to a consumer. Because, let's face it, this is what we do for a living, and we do it day in, day out. Consumers do it every 5 to 10 years. So it's all new to them, and they have no idea what we are facing. And they don't care. They don't know the difference, but you have to be compliant with the law. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to chats real quick. Tracy said, 25 years ago, I became a homeowner. Oh, wow. Nice. Don't risk your license. It's not an option. That's right. But we have it. Not seeing the added drop down for the BBA when I try to add it in. Well, we're going to go through dot loop and we're going to find out how to find that. Okay, good. Share my screen. Let's share. This one. Okay, so you all should know how to get into 21 Online, right? 21online.com. You log into 21 Online. You're going to search for Moxi or however you do it. There's 3 or 4 different ways to do it. And then you're going to create a presentation. And you're going to hit in the blue button in the upper top right. It's going to say create presentation. You're going to choose company presentation. You're going to choose buyer. And this is going to pop up. Here's your buyer presentation. I totally, totally encourage you to use this presentation for a couple of reasons. And we're going to spend time listening to it. But the home buyer's guide for your home ownership journey, this is going to set the stage for you to have a contract signed, right? In the absence of this, the customer is going to be scratching their head going, I don't understand. Why do I have to do this? Right? So Jeff does a very good job of explaining this. So the presentation comes across. It's made by me. That's my profile picture, right? We come down here and page 2, our transaction coordinators, staff in the back. Well, that's all right. I thought it was page 2. Did I open the right one? Oh, nope. Okay. All right. So we're going to go through it. Congratulations. You made the first step in the home buying process, finding a realtor to work with. Let's get started. We're looking forward to working with you. We understand this is the most emotional and exciting times in life, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Now, look at the presentation. Is it pretty? Is it nice? Yes. Is the medium the message? Yes. Right? So you want to put your best foot forward when you're meeting a consumer for the first time. Right? Oftentimes they call you on a sign call. What to expect: an initial consultation, financial preparation, a home search, making an offer, inspections and appraisals, prepare to move, and then the closing itself. There's a step we're going to go through. Then we have the lifestyle profile, which is in .loop, which you can email to them separately, which is a great, 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 great idea. And you can just mention it here. I'm going to send this to you separately. Then we have the process, the little thing you go through, and that happens. And then this is a 17-page presentation. Key terms. We take this for granted because there's a lot of acronyms we use and people just don't get it, right? So we use them day in, day out. They don't know the difference, but the appraisal, affordability, closing costs, PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, plus your HOA, your CDD, the costs that are going to go in there, your credit score, debt to income ratio, down payment, escrow, pre-approval letter. Pre-approval letter is very, very important. Inspection contingency, mortgage rate, mortgage insurance, property taxes and insurance, all really, really cool. I did a boat tour last weekend, not this weekend, weekend before. And just talking about the benefits of Florida taxation is huge to somebody who's not from Florida. And for people who are in Florida, they still don't know the benefits of owning a home and having the taxes that Florida has. So these are all things for you to talk about. The power of a pre-approval, telling them, hey, look, right? There's a partnership here between you and your loan officer to make things happen. And to have these conversations. Do not change bank accounts. Do not apply for a new credit or open a credit line. Do not go to Rooms to Go and buy furniture for your house and charge it. It's going to screw up your pre-approval. Do that after closing, right? Closing costs. Now, this is not for you to cover with them. This is for you to send to them. And hopefully they'll read it. And then you can ask them questions. Hey, did you get a chance to look at the presentation I sent you? Right? What do closing costs cover? This is just real life real estate information. A home inspection. We did a class with Terry on Thursday. For your protection, get a home inspection and a home warranty. All those things are, I'm sorry, I'm talking about home warranty, not inspections, but inspections for sure. Ready for closing, e-signing and storing documents. You guys have a, I pay, the company pays every month for your .loop account. And when you send a consumer a .loop file, that is their filing cabinet. I've got a little filing cabinet over here for one of my houses, and it's so antiquated now. If I had a .loop back in 25 years ago, I could have everything in .loop and it'd be perfect. But now I've got paper and I got to scan it, and it's a pain in the butt, right? But your customers have access to that .loop forever. So if you're playing the game, your name is on their .loop. And every time they log in, they'll think of you. So when they buy a new refrigerator, they should scan the receipt and put it in their .loop. When they get a new garage door opener, they should scan the receipt and put it in their .loop. And all their stuff will be there for the making for when they want it, and it's all ready for you. So talk about these things. Then you get to, let's get started. Here we go. The buyer broker agreement. What this means to buyers. We know the process may be exciting and a bit overwhelming, blah, blah, blah. As a buyer, you will need to sign and you will need to you will need to sign an agreement with us as your buyer's agent. You have to do it. This agreement, called the buyer broker agreement, is essential as it outlines our obligations to each other. It explains how we represent you in finding and purchasing a home. It details how we earn our fee. It ensures our transparency, and it protects your interests throughout the home buying process. That is something we have to do. And like I started this meeting this morning, it's come to my attention that a lot of you are skipping this step and you can't. It's a major, major, major problem. $1,500 initial fine, $5,000 second fine, and then a hearing in front of the real estate commission. You have to do this. And there are people shopping and spying on you. Here's a buyer broker agreement. This is what it looks like. It's just a little sample. This is coming your way. And then we have, it outlines our obligations. Stop it. It's a way to make sure we're both on the same page and committed to working together. Okay. Now I understand it's a little dicey and you have to have this conversation with a stranger, but you have to have it. So we're going to cover the three agreements in just a second. And that's the end of my presentation. But anyway, so can you see how sending something like this, Dixie, stop it. Can you see how sending something like this might make you seem a little more professional and organized and give them a little more confidence so they do business with you? And can you imagine if you were, an agent and there's another agent also competing for the business, would this make you look better or worse in front of that consumer? Right? That's our goal for you, is to look professional and ready to go. Right? So now you've sent them the presentation, you've encouraged them to watch it. You can't make them watch it. But I wanted to find the video. It was here this morning when I looked. It was on page 2. I'm going to check it one more time. There we go. Like I said, to click the button.
Your agent and several hundred tasks in your checklist. Take up your contract negotiation and our coordination with title and escrow companies, the lenders, the underwriters, the appraisers, surveyors, the general property inspectors, flood and hazard insurance providers, any handyman or contractors, and any other experts that are needed, as well as understanding of any homeowners association or condo association documents or approvals, and we'll even collect all the relevant docs that ensure that you're knowledgeable of everything that's important to you. We can even help you with moving and utility connections that will make your process smoother. This stage of our journey will culminate in a smooth, successful closing, and we'll continue our relationship from there with us helping you with anything along the way with recommendations for anything home or area related. We'll be right here by your side for life. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to earning your trust and having you as our next happy customer for life.
So this is a verbal message to show them everything they can have. Okay. So now, do me a favor. Somebody give me a raise hand if you can see my screen with dot loop on it. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so these are your options. And it doesn't matter which one of these you use, but you have to use one of them. This is the wimpy one. This is the property pre-touring agreement. It says, I'm a real estate licensee with Century 21, blah, blah, blah. Consumers, Mary and Tom, collectively called the consumer, will use broker's service to view properties the parties mutually agree upon for a period of time, right? This is like as wimpy as it gets, guys. You can't not at least have this one signed. 7 days, right? You just met them. You don't know who they are. Broker compensation. Brokers' commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. That is a requirement. It has to be in writing and presented to the consumer. You do not owe broker any compensation at this time. If you wish to work with a broker to purchase property, broker shows you broker compensation for services. Broker will provide you as follows, unless amended. Here's a flat fee that we charge. Here's a percentage of the gross purchase price plus our transaction fee, which you want to put in there. So I would suggest you check this box here and you put in 3% plus $325, right? That's what it's going to cost you to do business with us. If you wish to work with the broker to purchase a property, broker may ask you to sign a separate agreement detailing the party's responsibility during the sale. A seller or listing broker may agree to pay some or all of the above compensation. If a seller or listing broker agrees to pay the broker for services, broker performs for you, broker will reduce the amount you owe accordingly. If you choose a property already listed by broker, seller may pay broker for services broker performs for seller, and you will not be responsible for this compensation. And then in bold, it says broker's compensation from any source will not exceed the amount of compensation in a written agreement with you. So this is like the minimum. All right. You meet a stranger from Zillow or realtor.com or whatever. If you're going to engage them and actually show them property, you have to have something signed. And this just says, hey, this is what I charge. And if we do business in the future, you're going to have to sign an agreement. No obligations here. It just says, this is what I charge. And if we do business in the future, you have to sign another agreement. That's it. This is called the property pre-touring agreement. And I just went to .loop and I typed in touring and it popped up, right? So this is like, you have to do it. At a minimum, have this printed out, ready to go in your car. And that will protect you against the real estate commission coming after you for not having had this discussion. Now, once again, I recommend you show the buyer presentation to make you look like a professional. This is the wimpiest agreement there is. There's no commission. There's no anything. Just to say, if we do business together, you're going to have to pay me, and I'll work on that part. But the presentation itself delivers the value that you have. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is option one, not my favorite option. Option two is called a showing agreement. Give me a quick raise of hands if you can see the showing agreement now. The showing agreement actually has a little bit of teeth to it, so it has some strength, right? The consumer agrees that between this period of time and this period of time, if the consumer becomes interested in touring, negotiating the purchase, option, exchange, lease, or other acquisition of any of the properties listed below, consumer will utilize the professional services of Century 21, blah, blah, blah. Should consumer enter into a fully executed contract for sale and purchase or a contract to lease on the property, both are covered, listed in paragraph 2, the term of this agreement will automatically extend through the date of the actual closing or lease execution by all parties. All right, so that's just a little protection for us. So let's say you have a 7-day agreement and they go under contract in 7 days, they don't close for 45. This agreement lives out through the date of the contract. All right. And then here's where you've got to make some decisions. Paragraph 2, property. This agreement applies to, and a lot of you are pretty ballsy actually, putting in the state of Florida. I personally, if I were a consumer, would not sign that because I know what I'm doing. But you could say in this condo building, you could say in this county, you could say in the state of Florida, but you're going to be covered here. And this is where it's important because consumers don't understand. They meet you and they sign this agreement and you're covered in the state of Florida. If they talk to another agent and another agent makes them a presentation, has them sign something, they're obligated to 2 commissions. And we owe it to our consumers to tell them the truth, right? And that's why we have that clause in .loop that you can add to that buyer acknowledges they have not signed any other agreement with another brokerage company because we don't want them to be on the hook to pay 2 commissions. And if we find out they have signed something with somebody else, we need to get them to tell us what it says, right? Does it say the state of Florida? If it just says for 7 days and it's for one particular neighborhood, then you're okay to show them something after 7 days in a different neighborhood. But we owe it to them to have this conversation. And I know that's not happening and it's going to be a problem. And I just can tell you it's going to be a problem. So it's very, very important you do this. All right. So this is a negotiable field and you can get as specific or as general as you want. But on the showing agreement, it's got a little more teeth and it says, hey, for this period of time, if you buy anything in this area, then I'm going to give you these duties. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. Broker's obligation. We're going to assist you. Other consumers agree that, I might be showing other people the same house. Doesn't mean, I'm exclusively yours. Fair housing and services providers. We do not warrant or guarantee products or services provided by any third party whom broker refers or recommends. right? So if you give them a home inspector, the home inspector screws up, it's not our fault, right? They did a good job for you once. The second time is no guarantee. Consumers' obligations. This gets important. They're going to immediately contact the broker, which is the company, upon deciding to negotiate for the acquisition of one or more of the above listed properties. They're going to inform any other real estate licensee with whom consumer has contact that consumer has contracted to work with broker with regard to the properties listed above. So this is the part where that dot loop clause comes in, because they're saying right here, this is the Wimpier agreement. So with the BBA, with the pre-touring, and now we've got the showing agreement. The showing agreement says, hey, you better tell any other agents that you are contracted with another brokerage before you sign anything with anybody else. You're going to indemnify and hold us harmless. You're going to consult appropriate professionals for tax, legal, environmental, engineering, foreign reporting requirements, and other advice, and making a diligent effort. Now, we have people that we can refer them to for these things, but we're held harmless for any referrals that we give, right? So, do you have a lawyer that you can send them to for legal advice? The answer is yes. You'll get Danny over at Paramount Title. Tax advice, we got Chantel. I haven't had her on class with us for a while, but Chantel is awesome. Um, Environmental issues, you need an environmental engineer. Any engineering, foreign reporting requirements, Chantel comes in for that too, and any other special advice. Don't rely on us for those things. And you, buyer, are going to make diligent, good faith effort to perform the contract terms of any purchase agreement or contract to lease. That's fine. Compensation, here we go. Purchase or exchanges, dollar amount, percentage, or a flat fee also in addition to that. So you would put in here purchase or exchanges, 3%, or in this line, you do 3% plus $325. So this is when you'd fill out here and here on the showing agreement, because that's what we're going to charge, right? Now we'll negotiate that later, but in the meantime, we have to have a contract with the consumer that authorizes us to do that. And then if you're working with somebody who might be leasing, we would put in, 10% of the gross lease amount is pretty much what we ask for all the time. Now the consumer is going to have to pay that, or we're going to have to ask for it from the seller, which is what we'll normally do, or the seller's broker. Retainer, I don't really recommend you charge a retainer. You're welcome to if you want to. If you've got a buyer who is going to take a lot of time, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Attorneys do it all the time. Any additional terms you want to write in, dispute resolutions, acknowledgement, modifications, and then the consumer signs. So this has got a little more teeth. It says, if I buy a house during this period of time in this area, I agree that you will be compensated this amount of money. Way different than the property pre-touring agreement. Okay. It's not as teethy. Teethy, is that a word? Not as teethy as the buyer broker agreement, which we'll see next, but it's still got some power to it. So I recommend you send the Moxi presentation, create a presentation, choose brokerage presentation, create it in their name, and then send it. That's going to give you some clout. All right. Then when you meet with them, have one of these agreements printed out or a couple of these in your car, just as a rule. And when you meet them, they need to sign one, but they've already seen the presentation, so it puts you in a better shot. All right. And then the third one is called the EBBA. And you can see it down here. It says EBBA 7TB. TB is transaction broker, because we don't want to be a single agent unless we have to be. You can offer it if you need to, but I do recommend that you become a transaction broker from the onset. And if you got a really tough consumer, we can work with them. Okay, thank you. So you can see the right form. Okay, so this one has teeth. This is the consumer grants the brokerage the exclusive right to work with an assumed consumer in locating and negotiating the acquisition of suitable real property as described below. The term of this agreement will be, many of you are getting these signs for a year, right? Is that okay? Yes. Some people take a year to find a house, but this agreement ends when it ends, except there is a protection period after that. So your term of the agreement is going to be, I would say 6 months, just like we do with listing agreement. Would be kind of the minimum to go with this one. Property, type of property, single family, residential, condo, whatever you want. And location would be the county or the state. And then we have obligations that we have to perform. And then the consumer's obligations they have to perform. And then we have the retainer clause, which we're not really going to use. And there's our compensation, right? And we already pre-printed the 325 in this one. So it'd be 3% plus $325. Lease 10%, right? If there's an option, we get 50% of the option amount pre-printed, just like it is on our listing agreement, right? And then any additional fees we'd have, which we don't. Protection period, you got 45 days after the termination of this agreement. If the consumer buys anything that you showed them, you are due a compensation. Do not do that on the showing agreement. So the protection period is something that's new. It's enhanced. It's not on the showing agreement. It's part of the EBBA. This has a termination. At consumer's request, broker may, watch the word may, broker may agree to terminate this agreement, and it's going to cost you $500 to do that. But there's no obligation for us to do that. Once we cancel them, they're free to go work with another broker if they want to. But in the meantime, they're obligated until we say yes. Then we got dispute resolutions, which we didn't have in the other contract. Then we got assignment, persons bound, and it gives us the right to assign this to agreement. So let's say you're working with a consumer and you sign them up for the state of Florida, and they decide to go work. They decide they want to move to Jacksonville, and let's say you're in Tampa. So we can assign this agreement to a broker in Jacksonville and get a referral fee because it's an assignable contract, right? And this is the brokerage relationship as a transaction broker. That's why it's a TB form. Because when you go into .loop, you'll see an EBBA for a single agent. You'll see it for a non-rep, and you'll see it for a transaction broker. Transaction broker is when you want any other terms, and then it goes into things. So that's what you have. So anyway, as I started this class saying, okay, it's come to my attention that a lot of you are showing properties and you're not having agreements signed. You better shape up. It's going to happen. The pendulum is swinging, and now it's time for us to pay attention because I don't want anybody getting busted. And by the way, the fines go to the agent, not the brokerage company. So all the more reason. So we've backed you up with a presentation. Right? So you've got a Moxi presentation. You sign into 21 online. You go to Moxi and Impress, and then you'll create new and set it up for John and Mary Smith or whoever they are. And then you will have this presentation already made for you. And then you will send it to them. And I would highly recommend you do that in advance of your meeting. And then when you meet with them, you're going to say, hey, remember that presentation I sent you? It said, we're going to have to sign an agreement. Here's my agreements. So you are free to start with a property pre-touring. Piece of cake. They're going to love you anyway. So this at least sets them up and says, hey, if we end up working together, you're going to have to pay me something, or you're going to agree to pay me something. I'll get it from the other party. Right. And if you don't like that, then go to the showing agreement. And this one puts a little more, this is the easier one. Probably, hey, if you buy a house that I show you, I got to get paid. Right. And I'll negotiate that into the transaction. And if the seller doesn't pay, you're up for the difference. But once again, you're going to have a relationship with their loan officer, and you're going to find out how much cash they have. If they got enough cash to pay your commission, then take it off the price of the house. If they don't have enough cash, then add it to the price of the house. Right? It's all everything's negotiable, and it all says that. Right? And then if you once you get to know them well and they trust you, then you go to the exclusive buyer broker agreement and you're good to go. But anyway, it has come to my attention, as I mentioned before. Michael says Moxi is my favorites. 2 clicks and you're there. Perfect. Lauren says I do for a year. Good for you. Yes, we can add that clause in. We're going to talk about the manager meeting this morning. I'm new enough that I just went straight to the EBBA. Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you should do. It just takes a little more courage to do that. You have two signed already. That's awesome. So what I'm asking you to do, guys, when you have the EBBA signed, put it in .loop and create a loop name for it, and then submit for review. We'll keep track of those because Jimmy asked me this morning, just talked about the contest, right? We're going to track all the buyer broker agreements that are coming in. And every time you get a BBA signed and submitted for review, we're gonna count that as a ticket entry into the contest to get a free pass to um I call it Florida 21. Good, Jennifer. Keep a folder of all of them in your car, whichever one you need. Kimberly, I've heard it this way. Pre-touring is when we were dating, showing agreement is when we were engaged, and BBA is when we're married. Perfect. Riva says, I found this presentation super helpful for new home buyers. I also did a voiceover. Oh, good for you. And recorded a 3 to 4 minute video and shared it to view at their time. I've had other agents ask me for the script of Jeff's speech because I want to put it in their own words, which is fine too. We'll share that with you. We can show any brokerage's listing. No, that's why we do. No. You can only show our brokerage's listing. So if it's essentially one of Began's listing, you can show it without um, having a BBA as an open house. But if you're holding another broker's house listed, you would technically be working with the consumer, and we don't have an agreement with the seller. So, and honestly, if we don't have an agreement with the seller to pay a commission on the buyer side, then you'd want to be BA too because you want to make sure you get paid. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, that's all I got for today. Happy. Oh, 3 new messages. Gotcha. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Happy Monday. Looking forward to a nice sales meeting with you tomorrow. And no Mexican beer now, a little bit. Happy Cinco de Mayo.